Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we find ourselves in a dark fantasy world inspired by 17th century Europe inhabited by anthropomorphic animals. Now your goal is to survive for 8 days as darkness tries to destroy the region of Bedell. But other players will also stand in your way to one of the 4 possible victory conditions. Darkest Doom is a competitive strategy game with some RPG elements for 1 to 4 players. It takes 1.5 to 2.5 hours to play, is for ages 14 and up, and published by Game Start Studio. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works and I'll see you on the other side. In Darkest Doom, you're going to be able to select which Guardian you want to play as. Now, in addition to the miniatures that it comes with, they also have a card that shows the special ability for that specific Guardian. Now that card's going to go on a board and you're going to be managing some different things from your own board. For example, the different stats of your Guardian. Now each Guardian has starting stats, but you're going to be able to increase some of these and even denote which one you want to increase as you have certain quests completed and such. You're going to be managing your melee, which represents your combat abilities and physical prowess. Now you're also going to be managing your health. You'll be managing your witchcraft, which is your mana petal supply used to cast spells, but also for magical defense against other spells, and your wisdom, which is going to increase your hand limit as you gain different supply cards at the beginning of each part of the rounds. Now the game is played in up to 8 rounds, with each round going through a dawn and a nightfall phase. And I say up to 8 rounds because there's 4 victory conditions in this game, 3 of which will end the game prematurely before the 8 rounds are over. Now, at the beginning of the dawn phases, you're going to be getting some supply cards. We'll talk more about these later. They're like equipment and encounters and traps and spells and such. But you're also going to be taking actions, and you'll be using this to count your actions. A lot of times you're using the actions to move around. Now, you'll be moving to adjacent regions, and those regions are going to have different icons, which are different types of terrain and such. Now, the different areas are going to have different things that might happen. So some things will get activated as you pass through it, some things will require payment or some prerequisite, but they all act in sort of different ways. Now, at the beginning of the dawn phase each round, if you don't have a quest, you'll get one. And you're trying to complete quests. These are some of the things you're doing, and this will actually show you where on the board you want to do this and what you have to do in order to pass this, or to fulfill this quest. In this case, you are going to roll a 5 from the fate die once you're in there. Now, another thing with this is, when you get a quest, you get to decide which stat you want to increase once you finish this quest, and which of the 3 relics you'll get. Now those will be important to some strategies and some victory conditions that we'll talk about later, but the stats, those will go up when you finish those quests as well. So if you do get there and you try to fulfill the quest, you'll roll this 10-sided fate die, and hopefully you get it. You need 5 or more. Now, you can actually, depending on what you roll, you can actually use some coins. You actually start with 3 coins at the beginning of the game. There's different ways to get coins, but you can actually spend coins to increase this. If I needed 5 or more, I could spend a coin from a 4 to get it to a 5, and I've completed the quest. So in addition to moving this stat up, I'd also get the resource that I had said I was going for. So in this case, it would have been the Elder's Urn. Now we're going to talk about what these different relics do, because a lot of them tie to some of the victory conditions in the game. If I was on this one, I would have gotten the Sigil Stone, and if it was on this one, I would have gotten the Spirit's Lantern. We'll go over what all these sort of things do in just a moment. Now in addition to that, if you just complete a quest, you are going to get some daily fame. However, if you're more than 4 spaces away from there, you can declare that that is where the quest is that you're going to, and you'll get 3 fame because everybody else will know where you're trying to get to. They can try to get in your way, they can try to battle you and things like that to keep you from getting those. So if you declare and let everyone know where you're going, you'll get 3 daily fame. Now daily fame is important because you're going to be going up or down this, doing different things that can earn you this. We just saw quests do it, but other things will allow you to do it too, like killing other guardians in battle, killing creatures in battle, different card effects and abilities, removing some dark pools that we'll show you later, but there's different ways to move up this track. Now this is important because let's say I'm on this orange zoned citadel and I have a daily fame of 3. My guardian's base is a purple color, as you saw as I was moving him around and such. So I'm in the zone where the orange citadel is. I can now have an alliance with this because I had 3 daily fame there. Now I'll get to take one of these to show that I'm the one that has the alliance with it, and I'd place it on there so everyone can see. Now if I ever had gotten 6, you'd actually get this acolyte. you'd be able to place it here on your board, and when you're in that specific citadel, you can actually take the action there. So for example, if I was in the Blood Temple of Orange, because that's the Acolyte I have, I could do this. It says activate with Acolyte. So essentially, you'd remove dark contamination cards from your hand, which kind of clog up your hand and do bad things. We'll talk about those later, but it's a benefit to have these. But if a different player then has a higher daily fame than 3, and they go here, now they have the alliance with that specific citadel. And this is important because I said the game will last up to 8 rounds. If you get to the end of the 8th round, you will add up the points here from this alliance track with your daily fame for the last round, and that's one of the ways to win the game if it gets to the end. Keeping in mind that the daily fame does reset each round. Now during the Nightfall phases, you'll also be getting these Order Achievement cards, which there are other goals that give you other rewards, like discard 2 random Citadel supplies, or roll the Fate die in a Plain Zone and get 5 or more. And if you get things, you get rewards, like money or health and things like that. Sometimes you'll be battling other Guardians or players, but sometimes you'll also be battling against creatures that come out throughout the game. Now before you actually roll dice to battle, you have the chance to use spell cards. You can do this before and after you roll actually, and you're going to be using mana petals as a currency in order to pay for the spells that you're going to be casting. Now when rolling dice, different things can happen. You can parry different hits. You will be hitting them. Some hits depend on which phase it's in, like Nightfall or Dawn, and some of them actually move the Darkest Doom marker. Now this Doom track will be moving through different effects for the game and also having different things that happen. And some of these even affecting the dice that have been rolled. Now if you defeat another Guardian, you get to move up 3 on the daily fame track, and we've seen how important that is already. And if no one dies at the end of that battle, then the one being attacked will be moving to a different zone, adjacent. Now as you move from the Dawn phase to the Nightfall phase, certain tokens are going to be placed in this bag, which will affect things as they come out during these phases. Now when it's the Darkest Doom's turn during the Nightfall, you're going to be getting a map card and an event. Event does something different, like, hey, all players within 3 zones of a creature loses 3 money. But here it's going to show you where to place different things, like creatures and dark pools. Now creatures are going to be coming out at level 1, as you see here on the left, but there's different effects that are going to have them evolve into level 2, and then evolve even into level 3 you see there on the right. Now those levels are important because you're going to be drawing from that bag that we showed you some of the tokens go as you get through the different rounds, and it's seeded with some at the beginning of the game. The creature's going to go after something. Like in this case, it's the Guardian that has the orange base, but sometimes it's going to go after different things. Like it might be going after the orange Blood Temple, and when it gets there, because it's going to be moving each round, when it gets there, it's going to be putting some dark filaments around there. And the amount that they're putting there is depending on the level. If it's level 1, it'll put 1. Level 2, 2. And level 3, it'll put 3. And this is important because if every Blood Temple and every Citadel has 3 dark filaments, the game is over and everybody loses. However, it can also be an alternate victory condition for one of the players as well. Let's set this up a little bit to show you how that works. Now, I mentioned some dark pools are going to be coming out. And when you enter a region with one of those in there, you'll need to do an ambush check. So you flip it over. Now it's going to depend on what, the timing of when this happens during the game. Because at the beginning of the game, it's 3 during the first Nightfall. But by the 4th round of Nightfall, it's going to be at 4, and it will go up as high as 5. And so you flip a Dark Contamination card, and you roll the amount of dice. Let's say we were early in the game, that number was only 3. You always roll 1 more die. And you're trying to get, in this case, the top, the 3 on the left side there. You're trying to get those. And in this case, we got this one, and we've got this one, but we did not get this one. Keep in mind that some of these rolls might make the Doom track go as well and activate different things. Now, you can also discard some of the supply cards that you have, like this, in order to get the icon that you want. So you can mitigate the dice by discarding cards that you might have in your hand as well. Now, if you get it, then you're going to get some daily fame equal to that number. In this case, it would have been 3. But if you failed, you would discard this and you would draw another contamination card, and you would do what it says. In this case, this one says, hey, at the beginning of the Nightfall phase, you draw another card. But one card in the deck here has the leader of the hunt. And this is pretty important, tying it together back to the 3 dark filaments. Now, as we look a little closer here, this card allows you to reveal it if you defeat the leader of the hunt. Now, remember, the leader of the hunt is essentially a level 3 creature, and you can fight creatures. They actually fight with cards against you. But if you beat that level 3 and you reveal this card, you then put your own Guardian in there, and now you have a new victory condition where you want all of those Blood Temples and Citadels to have 3 dark filaments, where normally everyone would lose. But in this case, because you're in there, you're in the hunt, you beat the leader of the hunt, you're in there, you actually win the game. And so the actions that you'll be taking for the rest of the game are actually pretty different from what you would normally be doing, because now you're working pretty much against everybody else. So let's talk a little bit about the relics and some of the cards, and then the other ways that you can possibly win the game. Now we talked about the sigil stones. Now if you get 3 of those, you can go to that huge contraption in the middle of the board, in the monolith, and try to free Mosh. And to break the sigil, player, you basically have those 3 sigil stones, and you pass the ambush check as we showed you earlier. Depending on what round it is, the difficulty will be different, and that's one way to win. Now the last possible way to win is to purify the High Priestess by going to Winter Mountain and battling the darkness that engulfs the High Priestess. And her attack is the amount of Nightfall symbols you can see on the round tracker, plus those that come from the creature attack card. So the later you're doing it, the harder it's going to be. And remember, one of the relics is an Elder's Urn, and you can use those, like one of them, to spend to play these cards. Now there's all different types of cards. Now that is one of the equipment type cards, and those cards are going to help you out in all different types of ways. And these typically you'll get a certain amount of uses, and they decay after each use, and once they decay to their limit they essentially go away, but these are ways to help you mostly in battle. Another type of card are encounter cards, and these are the ones that do the most different varying types of things in the game. Now, earlier we talked about spell cards. You can play these before or after you roll the dice during battle, and these are going to help you, deliver magical damage to other players. And finally, there are trap cards. You would place a token in a zone, and if a player or creature goes in there, they would have to do a test, like we talked about earlier. If they fail, usually something bad happens to them. Now, we haven't talked in detail about the lanterns, and these are used to summon the Lake Spectre when in a lake zone. Now, each lantern used to summon this increases its stats, its attack and defense by 1 point. So with 2 lanterns, it's 2. And the cool thing is you put your miniature right inside of it, and it just looks amazing. Now, those are all the main concepts. There's a lot more rules in the game. I'm just covering sort of the higher concepts at a high level. That's pretty much how Darkest Doom works. Well, there you have Darkest Doom, and as I showed in the overview, you have the flexibility to change strategies during the game to complete one of the 4 possible victory conditions. Now, if you'd like to see all the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video. That's going to bring you directly to the crowdfunding project page, and I'm sure that GameStar Studio would love your support.